When rescuers found this cat, she looked like she had already given up on life. She didn't cry, she didn't run, she didn't even try to hide. She just sat there in the rain, completely still, like she was waiting for someone who was never coming back. And what happened next would break millions of hearts. It was a cold evening. Cars rushed past, people stepped around puddles and hurried home. But beside the road, near a torn cardboard box soaked by the storm, sat a tiny cat with matted fur and empty eyes. She was so thin that every rib showed through her wet body. One of her paws trembled, but she stayed in the same place, staring at the street as if she believed that if she waited just a little longer, the person she loved would return. Most people passed her without stopping. Some looked at her for a second, then walked away. She didn't meow for help. She didn't beg for food. It was almost as if heartbreak had taken even that from her. Then, a rescuer saw her. The woman pulled over as soon as she noticed the small shape in the rain. She ran toward the cat with a towel in her hands, expecting the frightened animal to run. But the cat didn't move. She simply looked up with those tired, glassy eyes. That was the moment the rescuer knew something was deeply wrong. This wasn't just hunger. This wasn't just fear. This was grief. Carefully, the rescuer wrapped the cat in a towel and lifted her into her arms. The little body was colder than she expected, fragile, light as air. The cat did not resist. She just leaned into the warmth for the first time in who knows how long. At the shelter, they gave her food, water, medicine, and a soft blanket, but she refused everything. She turned her face away from the bowl. She curled herself into the farthest corner of the bed and sat there in silence, hour after hour, night after night. The volunteers tried everything. They offered her warm chicken, tuna, soft blankets, gentle voices. Nothing worked. She did not hiss. She did not scratch. She simply looked broken. Late at night, one volunteer noticed something even more heartbreaking. In her sleep, a little cat's paws twitched like she was running. Sometimes she woke suddenly and looked toward the door. Every single time, it was the same. She wasn't scared of the shelter. She was waiting. Then they found the clue. Around her neck, hidden under dirty, tangled fur, was a faint mark from an old collar. That changed everything. This cat had belonged to someone once. She had known a home. She had known love, and somehow she had lost it. The rescuers began searching nearby neighborhoods and community groups. They posted her photo. They asked local Dukan owners and residents if anyone recognized her. Days later, an elderly man from the area stopped at the shelter after seeing her picture. The moment he saw the cat, his face changed. He recognized her. He told the rescuers that the cat had once lived with an old woman named Eleanor, who stayed alone in a small house at the edge of the neighborhood. Eleanor loved that cat like family. Every morning, she sat on the porch with her, speaking softly as if the cat understood every word. Neighbors often saw them together, an old woman with tired hands and a little cat always curled beside her. But a few months ago, Eleanor had been taken to the hospital after collapsing at home. She never returned, and the cat had stayed. According to neighbors, for weeks after Eleanor was gone, the cat kept coming back to the porch every day. She sat by the front door, she slept beside the empty food bowl. She waited through sun, wind, and rain. Some people tried to feed her, but she would only stay near the house. It was as if her whole world had stopped the day Eleanor disappeared. By the time the house was emptied and locked, the cat had vanished, until the rescuers found her in the rain. When the volunteers heard the story, many of them cried. Suddenly, everything made sense. She wasn't refusing food because she was stubborn. She wasn't silent because she was wild. Her heart was simply still trapped in the place where she last felt loved. The rescuers decided to move slowly. No pressure, no forcing, just patience. One volunteer sat beside her every evening without speaking, just reading softly from a book. Another placed treats nearby and then backed away. Day after day, they gave her the one thing grief needs most: time. Then one night, something changed. As the rescuer rested her hand near the blanket, the cat stretched out one trembling paw and touched a single finger. It lasted only a second, but in rescue, a second can mean everything. From that moment on, her healing began. She started eating small bites. She stopped hiding in the corner. A few days later, she allowed the rescuer to stroke her head. Then, one afternoon, exhausted from fighting so hard for so long, she fell asleep in the rescuer's lap. For the first time, she looked peaceful. Weeks passed. Her body grew stronger. Her fur became soft again. Her eyes, once dull with pain, slowly filled with light. She began following the volunteers around the room. She rubbed against their legs. She purred, quietly first, then louder, like a tiny engine of hope coming back to life. But the most emotional moment came on the day they showed her a framed photo of Eleanor. The cat walked over, sat down in front of it, and stared. Then she gently pressed her head against the frame. No one in the room could hold back tears. It felt like a goodbye, not the kind filled with despair, the kind filled with love that never really leaves. The rescuers placed Eleanor's photo beside the cat's favorite bed with a small flower next to it. And somehow, from that day on, the cat seemed lighter, as if she finally understood that although the person she loved was gone, she had not been abandoned in spirit. She had been loved until the very end. Today, that once broken cat is almost unrecognizable. She sleeps in warm blankets, she eats happily, she asks for cuddles, she watches the sunlight by the window like it belongs to her again. But the most beautiful part of her transformation isn't just that she survived. It's that after losing everything, she still found a way to trust again. And maybe that's why this story hurts so much, because somewhere in those sad little eyes, we see something human too. The pain of waiting, the ache of loss, and the miracle of being loved back to life. She was rescued from the street, but in truth, she was rescued from heartbreak. And now, every time she closes her eyes in peace, it feels like the ending Eleanor would have prayed for. Sometimes love doesn't end. Sometimes it just finds its way home in a different form.